Okay, so now we're going to go into your problem. So the first one that you gave me was t squared plus 7t equals 12 plus 8t. So the first problem is that this is not a trinomial, but we have to turn it into a trinomial. We can do that because we have like terms. We have this term and this term. Those are like terms because they both have a t attached to them. So what we need to do is bring them together. Since they're on opposite sides of the equal sign, here's our equal sign, right? It kind of separates everything. What we need to do is do the opposite operation. So, for example, this is a positive 8t, so what we need to do opposite of positive is negative. So we need to do negative 8t to both sides of the equation, and then combine. So this positive and negative 8t cancel out, and you're only left with 12 on this side of the equal sign. Here you have to combine these like terms. That's negative 1t. And if you struggle with positive and negative numbers, just let me know and we'll work on those too when you come here on Friday. Okay, so here's our equal sign. Again, we need a trinomial, so we don't have that because there's this equal sign in between here. So what we need to do is the opposite operation. Well, this 12 is positive, although you don't see the plus sign. It's assumed to be positive, right? So what we need to do is the opposite operation of that, which would be negative. So minus 12 to both sides. Now we don't have any like terms on this side, and here that just gives us 0, right? A positive 12 and a negative 12, they just cancel each other out. So now we have t squared minus 1t minus 12. Ta-da! Now we have a trinomial. 3 terms. Here are my 3 terms. Equal to 0, that part doesn't matter. What we're going to do is factor this part now. Now if you look back at the previous video, remember that we're trying to figure out what 2 binomials were multiplied together to give this. So this is the first term. So the first term is achieved by multiplying the first 2 terms here. Instead of x, it's t, so it's the same thing. T times t gives me t squared. Alright, and then we need to get our last term. Our last term is 12. Well, the bad thing is that there's multiple ways of getting 12. So you need to think about which one will work best for you. So you have 6 times 2, right? You have 4 times 3, and you always have 12 times 1. So you have 3 options. But remember, you're trying to get 1t in the middle, negative 1t in the middle. So if you look at these options, you can combine 4 and 3 to get the 1, right? The 6 and 2, no. The 12 and 1, no. Right? So we can do 4 times 3 to give us that outer term, right? Then remember, we have to multiply our inners and our outers to get to the middle term. So this is 4t when we multiply 4 times t. Then t times 3 is 3t. Okay, so we have 4t and 3t. How can we combine them to get our middle term? Because we have to combine them. Negative 1t is what we're looking for. So that means the 4 has to be negative and the 3 has to be positive. Why? Because you have negative 4. If you look at the number line really quickly, because I haven't really discussed like positive, negative stuff yet with you. So I'm going to make sure that we got this under control. So 0 is the number line, right? This direction is the positive direction. This direction is the negative direction, right? So if we start at negative 4, that means right here, negative 4, and we go in the positive direction 3 times, where does that leave us? So 1, 2, 3, where are we when we go 3 times, right? So that's negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. So we're at negative 1. So that's how we know we get negative 1 out of here. Okay, so now let's put in our signs. So the 4 should be negative, and the 3 should be positive. Remember, this is just information used to find the answer. This is the actual answer right here. So all this rigmarole down here plays no role in what the actual answer is. It just helps you get to the answer. So just so that you make sure that you know that. Okay, so these are your two binomials that were multiplied together to get that trinomial. Now, it becomes harder when you add numbers out in the front here. So you gave me a couple other problems that adds numbers in the front, which it creates a slight problem, but not anything that's too terrible that you can't handle. You're going to follow the same procedure that we just talked about right now. So what I'm going to do is start that next problem over here, and it's 6 minutes into the video, so technically we only have 4 minutes remaining. So I'm going to go as quickly as I can, and then we'll start wherever we left off. So the second problem that you gave me now, we're adding numbers in the front, so it's getting complicated. 2n squared minus 9n minus 35. Okay, so again, we're following the same procedure. Notice I'm just making 2 sets of parentheses so that we can get to the answer. So we want to get this as our first term, 2n squared. Well, luckily 2 is a prime number. That means we can only get 2 by multiplying 2 times 1. So this has to be 2n and 1n. No choice because 2 is a prime number. Okay, then we want to get our last term, right? And that's achieved by multiplying this term by that term. 35, right? The most common way is 7 times 5. So that's the most usual way of multiplying it, so that's what we're going to stick with. You don't have to use 7 times 5. You can use 35 times 1. And if there's any other options, you can use those as well. So what we need to do is figure out where's our 7. Now we have to be tricky. It's getting tricky as to where we're going to put the 7 and where we're going to put the 5. Are we going to put the 7 here and the 5 there? Or are we going to put the 5 here and the 7 there? That's where you have to just pay more attention. Remember, we have to eventually get to this number. Okay? So if you look at it, remember you have to multiply the inners and the outers. So the only thing that's going to be affected is now we have a 2 here instead of just a regular letter, right? So whatever number you put here, you have to multiply it by this 2. So you have to be careful what number you put here. So if you put a 5 here, right, and the 7 here, let's think about it now. So we have 1 times 7, that's 7. 7n, right? And we have 2 times 5, which is 10n. So you have 7n and 10n. So this would give you 7n and 10n. There's no way you're going to get a 9 from a 7 and a 10. It's not going to happen. So then what you're going to do is, I'm going to erase this and that and this. And so what are you going to do now? Well, you're going to try it the other way. So this time we're going to put the 5 here and the 7 here and see how that works out, right? Alright, so I'm 9 minutes into my video. I'm going to have to pause, and we're going to come right back to this spot, so don't worry about it. It's not going to go anywhere in the next video, okay?